So my name is Mike Slovin. I'm the general manager for Smart Solutions at Comcast. And really, we're a relatively new organization, and we're created really to help businesses operate more efficiently and effectively. That's really our role. And we do that by a couple of things. One is we bring together the best of Comcast technology, so our connectivity and other services, along with creating an ecosystem of these smart partners that we'll talk more about, I'm sure, later. We create this ecosystem for customers to leverage to really solve business and community needs.
And it's funny because everything's becoming so interconnected. And of course, now we're just going through this AI wave as well. But something I keep hearing more and more at industry events and from interviews and conversations, people keep talking about Internet of Things, IoT, metaverse. I've heard people talk about the smart cities as a category, and I'm totally new to that. I know next to nothing, and I'm curious if you can kind of give us, what's the definition of smart cities? Does that tie into smart homes? And for digital signage, for our folks, does that tie into our display devices?
Yes, it's interesting. I think the category of smart in itself is evolving, right? It's a $100 billion market plus in the US, fast growing. So at Comcast, we really define smart as a broad smart communities category. So that could involve smart cities, single family communities, apartment communities, college campuses, et cetera. So the similar technologies for each with maybe slightly different use cases. And really, I think we would define broadly a smart community is really a community that uses technology and data analytics to enhance efficiencies, to reduce costs, or improve the quality of life for residents or businesses. I think that's how we'd probably look at it in the broadest sense.
So it sounds like this is kind of almost a nascent or new discipline, if you will. Would that be fair, like the last few years?
Yeah, I think it's evolving. We've supported with our traditional Comcast connectivity product line all of these areas. And really in the space that I came from prior, leading what we called Xfinity communities, which is more of the single and multifamily college campus market, really saw how some of these unique smart solutions could really impact and improve efficiencies, whether it's for those campus or apartment residents or for the actual back office for the businesses themselves. We decided to put together a team to really help define that and bring that to those communities as well as our business customers as well.
There's a million questions, and that's my problem. I want to ask 15 questions in one. But I'm suddenly thinking, okay, does the AI revolution make this the perfect moment for this kind of interconnected technology?
I think it definitely helps. If you think about the market, you've got these different layers. So we look at it as connectivity is at the core because you need some type of way to connect these devices and then do something, bring that information back to be able to help make your decision for what you're tracking. That's connected to those sensors, right? And they could be these AI-enabled devices, and that's connected to some type of platform that's managing it. So I think when you look through that, there's ways to use AI to automate some of those to really allow for more efficient, effective use, whether it's monitoring traffic flow and then creating potential solutions for it, or for energy management and other smart solutions.
So, and obviously, I'm sure this can apply to tons of different brands are jumping on board with this, but it's something that kind of enhances life for everybody living in urban areas, is what I'm gathering.
Exactly.
What are some of the projects that you've been working on? What kind of products and what kind of optimizations, if you will, are you creating?
We have 6 core solutions across verticals. So digital signage certainly is one of them, and that can be from a city perspective. It could be we're having a lot of conversations with retailers. Matter of fact, Xfinity retail stores are using digital signage to impact, number one, how do you provide self-service for customers using digital signage? How do you improve the traffic flow of the store using digital signage? That sort of morphed into another solution, which is video analytics. And how do you think about traffic flow and tracking how many people are in that retail store or in that particular city block or community? How quickly were they served? How many folks are queuing up in a line using those cameras for safety on college campuses, for example, as well. So there's a lot of use cases. And then certainly other solutions from energy management to parking solutions to lighting solutions and EV charging solutions that we're looking to provide.
I'm so excited that you mentioned that because we have been going gangbusters expanding into sustainability coverage, the EV revolution. We've covered some really massive, acquisitions recently of EV charge advertising, which has become this huge industry in its own right, like these screens at the EV chargers. What's the current state of sustainability and this EV revolution? How much more sustainable have cities gotten? And how can smart cities make that process go even faster? How far do we have to go?
Another great question. I think, hey, the nice thing with these very smart solutions is the goal is to solve these problems within the community or the business. So if you think about sustainability, smart solutions really have the ability to impact, number one, things like energy consumption. And yes, you can reduce energy consumption, but the ROI is they're then reducing energy costs, right? So you're creating a more sustainable environment, but it gives you the ability to have an ROI to invest in it as well.
So it's almost like I remember back when I worked in IT, the ITIL, the database decision making. It sounds like you're just literally using the word smart. You're making things smarter, being more efficient. And with the we've seen a lot of stuff about entire countries now with South Africa's power grid going through rolling blackouts. California's had problems sometimes. And with the EV revolution, one of the variables that I keep hearing about is we weren't prepared even in North America for the load on the grid. These kind of smart solutions, is that going to be one of the solutions?
So there's probably other folks within the Comcast ecosystem that are closer to the smart grid and energy management. I think for our team, we really look at the need for infrastructure from more of a broadband perspective. So we're really focused on how do we bring fast, reliable broadband service to underserved communities, traditional businesses, as well as things like bringing EV charging to businesses and their customers. That for us is by bringing out the network, you can then connect the various devices and then bring back information to allow those decision makers, whether they're city planners, businesses, or apartment owners, to make decisions to improve the lives of their communities.
How is that going? Because we've also covered, there's this sort of refocusing of the lens on folks that just aren't connected to the internet worldwide. And I think recently there was a study, something about 800 million people have been brought online within the last 2 to 3 years, something crazy like that, through efforts like this. How many folks have you been able to touch, and how much farther do we have to go? And is this like 5G, 4G? How are you doing this?
We're actually building our Comcast fiber network out to these locations. And we're really partnering with state and local governments across the country to expand our footprint into these areas. And there's a lot of great investment from those parties along with Comcast to make that happen. So we're really excited because it allows us to bring a different technology to these underserved communities and allow them to use it to help their daily lives.
That's awesome. What are some of the ripple effects? And I know, obviously, in our industry with digital signage advertising, you've got to have connection if you're going to have advertising. But in addition to that, like, how are you seeing this transform lives and communities?
Simple things, or things that we would think would be simple, just digital literacy. If a student really falls behind, if you don't have the ability to access the internet at home to help you with homework, help you studying, and help you with research. So we're bringing internet to homes, to community centers, to areas where folks that if they don't have it at home can gather to really help give them the same opportunity and foundation that other kids in their communities have to help them hopefully create a brighter future for themselves.
So it sounds like, broadband internet connectivity is kind of, I don't know what the term would be, like a social good, public welfare. I don't know how you'd even term that.
Yeah, it's certainly, we feel like it's a part of the community and a part of what we think everyone should have. As you've got your power, you've got electricity, and you should have some type of broadband service to allow you to really go about your daily life.
What are some of the biggest challenges you're facing? And is this kind of focused in North America? Is this worldwide?
So for us, between Comcast and Sky, we're in Europe, and about 60% of the US is really where we're focused. And we've seen great success in bringing this technology families. We've got a lot of what we call Xfinity Internet Essential customers, which is a very low cost product that allows families that may not be able to afford a traditional internet service to really jump on board, as well as offering free service to these community centers and other hotspots.
I love that. And as kind of the interconnected world, and it's weird because my industry, there's debate about whether you even call it digital signage because everything's merging in this weird technology moment. Yeah. As this ecosystem of tech becomes smarter, do you have any advice for, we've got so many business people, we've got C-level folks, we've got marketers. How can digital signage and marketing, how can businesses leverage this smart moment to effect in the coming years? What are some things people need to be doing that they're just not doing right now?
It's interesting. I think you're right. There's so many areas of opportunity, and we struggle with naming conventions too, because whether it's digital signage or something else, video analytics really means many things. But if you think about, for example, digital signage, the more we talk to communities and customers, we see so many examples. And I'll give you maybe an example just in a retail example. You think of some maybe more obvious use cases, some of which we talked about, like improving, if you're a retail bank, for example, being able to provide some self-service right when you walk in, or direction and interaction to guide you versus having to wait in line for a teller. But then even using that same type of digital signage in a back office environment. So as the employees are taking a break or in the back office when they first get to work, they're really getting now to be a part of the company culture because they're seeing messaging, whether it's all hands videos or information from the HR department, from the corporate offices. So they really get to be more a part of the company culture than the traditional bulletin board that has different things stapled or pinned to it. So I think there's a lot of ways that we can think about, whether it's digital signage or all these smart technologies, to improve the way a business can support their customers, to improve the way a city can advertise themselves, can provide kind of a guide and a map, if you will, to how visitors should really engage with the city, as well as for companies to engage with their employees.
It's interesting because we just chatted with, I think it was Matt Scaff at Insight, about their brand new headquarters and how they voluntarily brought their workforce back, majority on site, by choice, by building that kind of on-site culture. And one of the things they did was highlighting accomplishments week to week, like, this is something that just happened. So-and-so, your teammate did this amazing thing. Here's a little quote from them and here's their picture, just kind of motivational, build that living culture. It's not just, as you say, a bulletin board with a 3-month-old posting. It's a living thing. And Exactly. It sounds like with cities, we've covered, I think, is it Tampa? They just invested very deeply in the tourism. They have various dynamic ads in New York City and various locations that are sources of folks that want to come on vacation and tourism and so forth. Exactly. Do you think there are some major mistakes people should avoid that you keep seeing people do in this space? There's always this tendency to first talk about their nirvana state of what these smart solutions and smart city and some of our community offerings can do. But I think it's important of something to avoid, and also kind of a best practice, which is starting with, hey, what is the specific either knowledge gap that we're trying to gain or business problem that we're trying to solve, whether it's in that community or in a business, and then focusing efforts on that particular piece, and then building on that infrastructure you put in place, building on the smart devices and technology put in place, and then growing from there. Sometimes we identify the problem as pretty big, and then it's very difficult to kind of launch something so that is so ambitious. When you can say, hey, we've got something that we know the residents or the community will use because it's going to improve their daily lives. It may help with improving trash collection. It may help with safer community, whatever it may be. They'll engage with it. And once you get them engaged on the first application, then it's determining and working with the community or the business customers, hey, what else is things that we can grow and add to this particular platform? It almost sounds like, this is going to sound crazy, but we've been covering a lot of different industry verticals, and there's this big movement to design and experience. I don't know if so, it went viral, this TED Talk where the person said, look, stop selling products, start designing experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have seen software as a service, everything's as a service, right? That acronym. Well, it almost sounds like you're talking about the city as a service, the campus as a service, the home as like it's an experience we're all designing for each other. Does that make sense? Is that valid?
I think so. And that's probably a part of the evolution of smart solutions and smart cities. And I think it really gets back to how do you continue to focus on what are those solutions and really just building a plan, starting to solve each one and growing from there. And as long as you can integrate it pretty seamlessly into the daily lives of the community or the customers, you can really grow it from there.
How is AI affecting what you do professionally, and how do you think it's going to influence the entire industry in the next couple of years?
We've got a group really focused on it, so there's probably a better group to talk in more depth. But I think for us, it's just speeding the knowledge gap. It's a lot easier to go get information, collate data, to really then help make a more effective decision. That's really how we're using it internally with our customers to figure out how we can solve those needs and then develop a solution based upon a larger swath of data that we're collecting using AI than potentially we could have before.
So it can process a heck of a lot more information more accurately, more quickly than a team of just humans could do, it sounds like.
Exactly.
What are some trends to be watching for? What do you think are the biggest things coming down the pike in the industry? And how should we stay educated on what's happening?
The nice thing about the industry and the space is there's a lot of new innovation, a lot of companies that do really unique things. So it's a pretty fragmented market. In a sense, that's overall good because there's a lot of choice for specific applications. I think like industry, you need to be able to go to one company, which is really why Comcast Smart Solutions was put in place to really say, hey, we can do the research for our customers, bring together some of these smart technology companies and solutions and create that ecosystem. I think for us, we're really excited about energy management. We talked earlier about sustainability. It's unique in the sense that you can provide energy savings to buildings or to communities, whether it's smart lighting in a community or energy savings through smart technologies in a apartment building or business building. It brings you that energy consumption reduction, gets you some sustainability credits. It improves the environment, but it also gives you an ROI for the investment. So it's a great way to look at smart technology as a win-win. We're going to deploy it. It's going to solve a couple business needs, but it's also going to provide some benefit, whether it's an ROI for that particular company or community, as well as for the environment.
It sounds like we talked recently with some folks in the European markets where they had these new regulations in France and Germany about you have to turn off your signs and all your monitors overnight, things like this. Right. And it sounds like, hey, you don't have to tell folks you need to remember this. It just happens automatically.
Exactly.
That's amazing. What's the single most exciting innovation as a technology person that you have seen that just puts a smile on your face, that excites you in this space?
Wow, there's a lot. I think for us, we hear from a lot of customers that are using video analytics, and they talk about using video analytics in an analog way and in what's now a digital world. So I think there's really so many ways now you can use video analytics in a non-invasive way to help solve these community or business needs, whether it's determining, hey, how do you provide curb management if you're a city, of seeing really what is the traffic in your individual blocks and city areas, and other use cases throughout the city that really allows this use of smart technology and innovation on the business side. There's so many ways that businesses, and we talked a little bit about this, Daniel, that they can improve their own business. And we look at this even from our Xfinity retail stores, of using the video analytics to track the volume of traffic, where they're interacting, so we can see, hey, is our messaging really working? How long, if there is a queue up for a particular area of the store, we can address that. And even for safety, if someone's going past a virtual line we've created that we don't think they should necessarily be there, there's many use cases that you can use. And matter of fact, for municipalities, we talked about kind of the solving a business need and then growing. Work with a lot of municipalities on things that started with simple video analytics for safety reasons or monitoring traffic flow. And then they've come up with really good use cases around, for example, illegal dumping.
That's amazing. And it sounds like there's a huge public health and public safety component here where you're just enhancing those areas.
Definitely. I think everything from college campuses of what is that traffic flow, how many people in the event of an emergency are specifically in that classroom or that building at any given time, certainly helps. And then just for planning of different communities, being able to understand the usage and the flow of traffic, whether it's pedestrian or a vehicle, using that data to help plan the growth of the community is really invaluable.
How did you personally get on this journey and get involved in this?
It's interesting. Coming from the community's side of Comcast and seeing some of these smart solutions in action and how they really were affecting the businesses or the residents of those communities got me really excited about the potential to broaden that through Comcast. And there was a group, Comcast Smart Solutions, that was starting up, and we were partnering on some of these initial pilots and launches. And that's how I got involved, and that sort of hooked me on the value and really the opportunity, as well as just being involved in that innovation, that fast pace, got me hooked, and then ended up joining the team.
I get the sense that you're never bored in this job.
That's true. There's so many things that we do to empower these businesses to be at their best. So in this community, so it's been an exciting time.
I love that. Well, as we close down, I always give folks the opportunity. Do you have a burning thought that you just want to yell to the digital signage and marketing and AV community?
Specific to that community, we are really interested in continuing to grow in that space. We think there's a great opportunity. And I think for us, we're really just looking to work with as many of the partners in that space as possible. Like we talked about a little bit, Daniel, earlier, to create that ecosystem of, hey, what's out there, and being able to have that ecosystem that allows us to take that to communities and businesses to help solve their needs. So anybody out there, definitely reach out. If you think you've got a play in the digital signage and marketing space, we'd love to talk to you and integrate that to help customers, help our joint customers solve these business problems.